my next guest has a remarkable record of accurately predicting presidential election outcomes since 1984. We're joined now by Allan Lichtman. He is a distinguished professor of history at American University and a renowned political analyst known for his groundbreaking 13 Keys to the White House system. We've reached him in Manhattan Beach, California tonight. Thanks for taking the time.
Nice to be with you.
So, we have seen from top Democrats this call repeatedly for Joe Biden to step aside, and these calls continue. Do you see a credible path forward for Joe Biden right now?
I've summarized American politics in one sentence. Republicans have no principles, Democrats have no spine. You've heard about the Republicans from your last guest. I'm not going to talk about them,
Sure.
But I will talk about the spineless Democrats. At the first sign of adversity, they have been willing publicly, out in the open, I've never seen anything like this, to trash their incumbent president, their nominee who was not chosen by Adam Schiff and congressional Democrats, but by the Democratic voters, and creating, in effect, a public, self-fulfilling prophecy of defeat. And what do they all have in common? They have no track record in predicting elections. What I have shown is the Democrats' best chance was to stick with Biden and have an incumbent president and no party contest. Under those conditions, the White House party almost always wins. Whereas if you bounce Biden and you have an open seat and a contest, those are conditions which 1900 the White House party has never once been reelected. But I do have a plan B, because I think you're right. Biden may not be able to resist all this pressure, particularly with Barack Obama, who's not known for his courage either, coming out against him. Here's my plan B. Biden resigns the presidency for the good of the country, which contrasts him with Trump, who's only in it for himself. That means Harris becomes president. You avoid the open seat. You have a sitting president running. And as the sitting president, she becomes the consensus nominee. So you tick off that box as well. And you don't recreate the situation of 2016 that led to the election of Donald Trump in the first place.
Well, and I've heard you, in other interviews, talk about this potential situation here. I mean, it seems hard for a lot of people to believe that Joe Biden at this point in time would resign the presidency, Kamala Harris would become the president. But how important is that key in your system that you've developed of being the incumbent to winning?
Incumbency and contest are critical. As I said, leaving out my system, the White House party has never won when there's an open seat and a contest. Now, on my 13 keys to the White House, it takes 6 negative keys to count out the incumbent party. So Biden ticks off those 2 keys right off the top. That means of the remaining 11, 6 would have to fall to predict the Democrats' defeat. Biden doesn't run, doesn't resign, you lose incumbency, you likely have a party contest. So instead of starting 2 keys up, you start 2 keys down, and only 4 more keys would have to fall to predict the Democrats' defeat. That's just how important, both based on history and based on my system, those 2 keys are. And all these spineless Democrats whining and complaining have no knowledge or understanding of history and no scientific method of predicting elections, and yet they claim to know what the Democrats need to do to be predicted winners. It's just an awful, awful spectacle.
Let me put this to you, because I have heard from some Democrats, them saying that this conversation going on right now shows that we are a diverse party, that we are willing to have these discussions, which, we're not just following in line behind one leader blindly. We are having an open discussion about it, and that shows a strength of the Democratic Party. What do you say to that argument?
They are whistling past the graveyard. They are dividing their own party, trashing their own president. It's not as if they're having reasoned conversations. They undermine Joe Biden, suggesting he's not qualified to run for president or have a second term, implying he's senile or demented. I have experience in my own family with senility and dementia. You know, Biden answered questions at the NATO summit for an hour and 9 minutes with great detail and precision. A senile and demented person could not have stood up on that stage for 20 seconds without descending into chaos. And they are insulting the tens of millions of Americans who, like Joe Biden, have a slight disability. Biden's always committed gaffes, even in the 1980s, but that's hardly fatal for doing his job, just that it isn't fatal for the 40 plus other million Americans who are doing their job so well. So this conversation is not respectful, it's not reasoned, and it is ableism and ageism at its worst. You know, I've always admired a lot of Democrats. I have to say, I'm pretty much finished now with the Democratic Party.
A last question real quick, because I do have to run here. You know, you are famous at predicting elections. The current state of play, as it stands right now, and I think I know what the answer is, what's your prediction?
I'll give you my state of play. If Biden stays or they adopt my plan B, so they tick off the incumbency and the contest key, a lot would have to go wrong for the Democrats to lose. Right now, they're down 2 keys, and 4 more keys would have to fall. And I'll tell your viewers what 4 keys to look at: third party, social unrest, foreign/military failure, and foreign/military success. It's unlikely, but not impossible by any means, that all of those 4 keys would fall. I'll give my final prediction after the Democratic convention. But if they lose incumbency and they lose contest, only 2 of them would have to fall, and that's vastly more likely. That's where we stand right now.
All right, current state of play. Allan, appreciate the time tonight and the analysis. Allan Lichtman, distinguished professor of history, that is, at the American University. Well,